abs, money, charm wrong. The number one thing that instantly attracts high-value women isn't what most men think. It's not your car. It's not your looks. It's not even the smooth talk. It's boundaries. Strong, unshakable, masculine boundaries. Because here's the truth. Most men kill attraction by being too available, too apologetic, too desperate to please. But the men women respect, desire, and chase are the men who set the standard. In this video, I'll break down 6 powerful boundaries that flip the script. Boundaries that separate the nice guy she forgets from the man she can't stop thinking about, and stay until the very end. Because boundary number 6 doesn't just protect your power, it changes how she sees you forever. Let me ask you something straight. Have you ever noticed that the more available you are to a woman, the less she seems to care, the more you text back instantly, the more you rearrange your schedule for her, the more you drop everything just to answer her call? What happens? She slowly loses interest. And you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? I gave her everything. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men never realize availability kills attraction. Scarcity creates value. Always. Think about it outside of dating. Why are diamonds so expensive? It's not just because they're shiny. It's because they're rare. The same principle applies to you as a man. When your time, your energy, your attention is given away too easily, it becomes worthless. But when it's protected, when it's rare, when she feels she has to earn it, suddenly it becomes priceless. This is what I call the boundary of scarcity. Why constant availability destroys attraction. When you're always on call, when you make yourself available 24/7, you're sending a silent message. My life has nothing more important than you. And here's the problem. Attraction doesn't grow from pity. It grows from respect. Women don't respect men who orbit around them like lost satellites. They respect men who already have gravity of their own men, with a life, a mission, and a purpose. When you drop everything just to meet her needs, you may think you're showing love. But what you're actually showing is neediness. And neediness is the fastest way to kill attraction, the power of scarcity. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine you're not always available. She texts you, but you're focused on finishing your workout. She calls, but you're in the middle of a meeting or grinding on your goals. She wants to see you tonight, but you've already made plans with your friends or with yourself. What message does this send? Not with words, but with energy. It says, I'm a man with value. My time matters. My life has momentum, with or without you. That creates a subtle tension, a mystery. She starts asking herself, where do I fit into his world? Why isn't he dropping everything for me like other guys do? That curiosity is magnetic. It pulls her in. Because here's the paradox. The less you chase her, the more she chases you. Scarcity doesn't mean neglect now. Let's clear something up. Scarcity doesn't mean ignoring her completely or acting cold. That's not masculine. That's immature. The difference is this: when you do give her your time, it's intentional. It's quality over quantity. You're not responding just because she snapped her fingers. You're choosing when and how to invest your attention. That choice, That intentionality is what makes your presence powerful. You're not cheap with your time, you're wise with it. The psychological trigger behind scarcity. Here's why this works on a deeper level. Human beings are wired to value what's rare. It's basic psychology. When something is abundant, we take it for granted. When something is scarce, we fight for it. Women feel the same way about your attention. If it's always available, it becomes background noise. But when it's rare, it becomes a prize. She starts to look forward to your messages, to your presence. She starts to feel the weight of your attention when she gets it. And here's the secret. She doesn't just want your attention, she wants to earn it. That's what creates true desire. A real example. Think about a man named Daniel. Daniel was the kind of guy who always replied instantly to texts. If a woman called him at midnight, he'd pick up, no matter what. He cancelled plans with friends just to meet up with her. At first, women appreciated it, but over time they lost interest. Why? Because Daniel's time was too easy to get. There was no challenge, no mystery, no scarcity. Then Daniel made a shift. He stopped being instantly available. He set a rule. He only replied to messages when he was free, not the second his phone buzzed. He stopped cancelling plans just to squeeze someone in. He started living his life first, focusing on his goals, his gym, his mission. What happened? Suddenly, women started chasing him. They noticed the difference. They felt the change in energy. And Daniel realized something profound. He didn't need to beg for attention. He just needed to respect his own time. How to apply this boundary? So, how do you put this into action without playing games? 1. Prioritize your mission. Your life's purpose comes first. Every time you choose your mission over instant availability, you reinforce your value. 2. Delay responses naturally. You don't need to jump at every message. Respond when you're genuinely free, not when you're desperate to keep her. 3. Protect your schedule. Don't cancel important plans just because she suddenly wants to see you. Keep your commitments to yourself and others. 4. Value your attention. Understand this. Your attention is a currency. Spend it wisely. Don't hand it out like candy. The Stoic masculinity behind scarcity. The Stoics taught that the most valuable thing a man owns is his time. Marcus Aurelius said, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. When you live like your time is sacred, you're embodying Stoic masculinity. You're not just telling her you're valuable, you're proving it. And women, especially high-value women, feel that instantly. The challenge for you. Ask yourself right now, do I give my time away too easily? Do I text back instantly just to feel safe? Do I cancel my plans just to keep her happy? If the answer is yes, then this boundary is your wake-up call. Because the moment you protect your time is the moment you stop being invisible and start being magnetic. The boundary of scarcity is not about manipulation. It's about respect. Respect for yourself, your time, your mission. And when you respect yourself, she feels it. Because here's the truth. Women don't want a man who has nothing going on. They want a man with momentum. A man they have to keep up with. A man whose presence is rare, valuable, and unforgettable. And when you become that man, you don't chase women. You draw them in, effortlessly. There's one word that separates men who command respect from men who get walked all over. It's not yes. It's no. Think about it. Most men live in fear of saying no to women. They think if they refuse, even once, she'll get upset, lose interest, or worse, leave them. So they overcompensate. They over-explain. They apologize. They bend until they break. And every time they do, attraction dies a little more. Here's the truth. A man who can't say no without guilt will never be truly respected. Why no is more attractive than yes? You see, anybody can say yes. Yes is easy. Yes requires no courage, no backbone, no principle. But when you say yes too often, you start sending a dangerous signal. My boundaries don't matter. My standards don't matter. My time doesn't matter. And whether she admits it or not, a woman feels that she may smile and accept your yes in the moment. But deep down, she loses respect, because respect is born from limits, from standards, from the ability to say no without fear. No communicates strength. It communicates clarity. It shows that you're a man with direction, not a people pleaser desperate for validation. The wrong way men say no. Let's look at how most guys handle it. She asks you to hang out, but you already had plans. Instead of simply saying no, you panics. You stutter. You go into damage control. I'm so sorry. I already had something planned, but maybe I can move it around. I'll try. I promise. What happens here? You just turned a boundary into an apology. You didn't own your decision. You begged for permission. You made your no sound like a crime. And in that moment, your strength vanished. The right way to say no now. Let's flip it. Same situation. Different response. She asks, but you can't make it. You simply say, can't tonight. Hope it's fun though. Let's catch up later this week. Simple, clear, confident. No apologies. No 5-paragraph explanation. No begging her not to be upset. Just reality, delivered with calm authority. Here's the paradox. The less you justify your decisions, the more respect you get. Because a man who trusts his own choices doesn't need anyone else's permission to stand by them. Why women respect a firm no. Here's what most men don't understand. Women don't lose attraction when you say no. They lose attraction when you say yes to everything. Because when you always agree, you stop being real. You stop being interesting. You stop being a challenge. And without challenge, desire withers. But when you say no with calm confidence, you send a subconscious signal. I respect myself too much to bend. My time and my energy matter. That signal is powerful. It triggers respect. And respect is the foundation of attraction. The psychology behind it. Saying no without guilt taps into a woman's deepest instincts. It tells her, you're not desperate. You're not seeking her approval. You're capable of standing alone. And here's the twist when you stand alone. She's more likely to want to stand beside you, because strength is magnetic. A man who respects himself enough to set boundaries becomes the kind of man she wants to follow, not the kind of man she wants to control. The Stoic perspective. The Stoics were masters of boundaries. They believed that saying no wasn't rejection, it was self-mastery. Epictetus once said, "No person is free who is not master of himself." When you can't say no, you're not free. You're enslaved by the opinions and reactions of others. But when you can say no calmly, firmly, and without guilt, you prove that you're the master of your own life. And that mastery is deeply attractive. Practical steps to build this boundary. So how do you actually build the ability to say no without guilt? 1. Start small. Practice saying no in everyday situations. Decline a request at work you can't take on. Refuse an invitation you're not excited about. Build the muscle. 2. Stop over-explaining. One sentence is enough. Can't tonight. Not available. That doesn't work for me. Anything more dilutes your strength. 3. Remove apologies. Saying no is not a crime. You don't need to be sorry for living your life. 4. Anchor in purpose. When you know your mission, saying no gets easier, because every no to distractions is a yes to your vision. A story that proves the point. Take a man named Alex. Alex used to be the classic yes man. He never turned down a request. If a woman wanted him to drive across town at midnight, he'd do it. If she wanted him to skip the gym to hang out, he'd cancel his workout. At first, women enjoyed the attention, but over time, they lost respect. Why? Because Alex didn't have a backbone. He was too easy. One day, Alex hit a breaking point. He decided to start saying no, not with anger, not with excuses, but with calm certainty. The first time he did it, he was terrified. But instead of losing the woman's interest, something shocking happened. She leaned in closer. She looked at him differently. She respected him more. And that's when Alex realized, saying no doesn't push women away. It pulls the right women closer. The boundary that elevates you. At its core, this boundary is about more than just women. It's about your entire life. A man who can't say no will always be controlled by others. But a man who can say no becomes the author of his own story. And high-value women, they don't want a man who bends for approval. They want a man who bends for nothing except his principles. So remember this. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you're saying no to yourself. But every time you say no with confidence, you're saying yes to your worth. And nothing attracts a high-value woman faster than a man who knows his worth. Most men believe disrespect comes loud. They expect it to show up as yelling, cursing, or direct insults. But here's the truth. Disrespect usually whispers. It hides in the smallest details. The sarcastic jab about your job, the eye roll when you're making a point, the just kidding joke that cuts too deep, the dismissive remark in front of her friends. And here's the problem: most men let it slide. They laugh nervously. They stay quiet. They convince themselves, it's no big deal. She didn't mean it. But every time you ignore subtle disrespect, you're teaching her something dangerous. He doesn't respect himself enough to stand up for himself. And the moment she feels that, attraction begins to die. Why? Letting it slide never works. You might think brushing it off makes you easygoing. You might think ignoring it shows you're not insecure. But to her, it says the opposite. It says you don't value yourself. It says your standards are negotiable. It says you're willing to trade respect for comfort. And here's the harsh truth: if you don't respect yourself, she never will. The power of calm confrontation now. I'm not telling you to explode, yell, or put her in her place. That's weak. That's reactive. That's emotional. The real power is in calm confrontation, a simple, grounded statement that communicates, I won't accept being disrespected. Not from anyone. Imagine this. She makes a sarcastic jab in front of her friends. Most guys would either laugh along awkwardly or snap back defensively. But you look her in the eye. Steady voice. No, anger. And say, hey, I don't let people talk to me like that. That's it. No lecture. No apology. No argument. Just truth. And do you know what happens in that moment? She feels something. Not anger. Not rejection. She feels safety. She feels polarity. She feels your masculine frame. Why women test with disrespect? Here's something you need to understand. Women don't always test you to hurt you. Sometimes, disrespect isn't intentional. It's instinctual. It's her way of asking, are you the kind of man who can hold his ground, or are you just another guy I can walk over if you collapse? She knows you can't protect her either. If you get angry, she knows you're unstable. But if you stay calm, firm, and unshaken, she knows you're solid. And solidity is what creates trust. The Stoic approach. The Stoics had a saying, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When someone disrespects you, the natural urge is to fight back emotionally. But the Stoic man doesn't react, he responds. He doesn't seek revenge, he sets a standard. Handling disrespect calmly is not about punishing her. It's about reminding yourself, I am a man of value. I do not tolerate disrespect, not from her, not from anyone. That reminder elevates you above the noise, and ironically, it often deepens her respect. Practical ways to enforce respect. So how do you actually set this boundary without becoming reactive one? Spot the micro disrespect. Don't ignore the little things. They matter more than the obvious ones. 2. Stay calm. Your power is in composure. If you lose control, you lose respect. 3. Be direct. Not dramatic. Short, clear statements work best. Example, I don't play like that. Or, that doesn't fly with me. 4. Set the tone early. The sooner you establish your standard, the less often she'll test it. 5. Follow through. If disrespect continues, don't lecture, create distance. A man who enforces his standard through action is always respected. A story that proves the point. Let's take a man named Daniel. Daniel was dating a woman who constantly made little digs about his work. She'd laugh and say, "You don't make as much money as my ex." Then brush it off as a joke. At first, Daniel ignored it. He told himself, "She's just teasing. Don't overreact." But every time she did it, he felt smaller, he felt disrespected, and she sensed it too. Over time, her attraction faded. One day, Daniel decided to change. The next time she made a jab, he didn't laugh. He didn't argue. He looked at her calmly and said, "Don't ever compare me to another man. That's not something I tolerate." Silence. She blinked, a little shocked. Then she nodded. And from that moment, she never brought it up again. Daniel didn't yell. He didn't over-explain. He just set the standard, and instantly, her respect returned. Why this boundary attracts high-value women? Here's the thing. Low-value women may resent boundaries. They may push harder when you enforce respect. But high-value women, they admire it. Because deep down, a woman doesn't want to lead the relationship. She wants to relax into her femininity. And she can only do that when she trusts your frame. By calmly handling disrespect, you show her you're not weak, you're not reactive, you're unshakable. That's the kind of man she can't forget. The bigger lesson. This isn't just about women. It's about life. The way you handle subtle disrespect from anyone, friends, co-workers, strangers, sets the tone for how people treat you. If you laugh it off, people will keep testing you. If you fight aggressively, people will see you as unstable. But if you calmly enforce respect, people learn. He's a man with standards. Don't cross them. And that aura of self-respect follows you everywhere. So remember this, every moment of disrespect is an opportunity to prove, not to her, but to yourself, that you value who you are. If you can hold the line in those small moments, women will feel it. They'll respect it. They'll be drawn to it. Because nothing is more magnetic than a man who respects himself enough to demand respect from the world. Here's a truth most men don't realize. Before a woman trusts your depth, she tests your center. It doesn't start with a deep conversation about your dreams. It doesn't start with admiration for your career or your discipline. It starts with something much smaller. A tease, a sarcastic remark, a playful but sharp edge thrown right at you. And whether she realizes it or not, she's not just joking, she's testing. Why women test now? Don't misunderstand this. She's not always trying to hurt you. She's not being evil or manipulative. These little tests are instinctive. They're nature's way of asking, is this man emotionally strong? Is he centered? Can he handle me? The world, and life itself, without breaking. Because here's the uncomfortable truth, if she can shake you with a little sarcasm, she knows life will break you in bigger battles. If you collapse under a tease, you won't stand when real pressure comes. Women are wired to sense this, not through logic, but through energy. She doesn't sit there thinking, let me test his masculinity. But her subconscious is always asking, can I relax around this man, or do I need to lead the mistakes most men make? Most men fail this test instantly. Some get defensive. What do you mean by that? Why would you say that some get angry, snapping back, raising their voice, escalating tension? Some get silent and withdrawn, sulking like a wounded child. And what does she see in each case? Fragility, emotional instability, lack of center. It doesn't matter how much money you make, how good you look, or how smooth your lines are. If she can rattle you with a single comment, she knows you're not solid. The Stoic response. So what's the right move? Stay calm, stay grounded. Pass the calm test. When she throws a jab, don't flinch. Don't explain yourself. Don't chase her approval with nervous laughter. Instead, smirk, breathe, hold eye contact, and maybe even flip it playfully. She says, "You're really going to wear that?" You respond, "Of course." "Why you worried I'll outshine you?" She says, "You're so serious all the time." You respond, "Someone has to balance out your chaos." Notice the difference. You didn't argue, you didn't defend, you didn't break. You stayed calm, light, and centered. And in that moment, you communicated more than 1,000 words. I know who I am. I cannot be shaken. Turning tests into opportunities. Here's the magic when you stay grounded. You don't just pass her test, you flip it. What started as a challenge becomes attraction. What started as tension becomes polarity. What started as sarcasm becomes respect. Because deep down, she doesn't want you to fail. She wants to feel your strength. She wants to know that no matter what storms come, you won't lose yourself. When you prove that through calm presence, she relaxes, she softens, she leans into her femininity. Because finally, she feels safe. A real-world example. Let's talk about Adam. Adam was dating a woman who loved to tease. Every time they were out with friends, she'd make little digs at him about his haircut, his work habits, his music taste. At first, Adam took it personally. He got defensive. He'd argue back, sometimes even raising his voice. And every time, she'd roll her eyes, brush him off, and attraction slipped further away. One day, Adam decided to change. The next time she teased him, "Wow, you're always working. Do you even have fun?" He didn't defend himself. He smiled, leaned back, and said calmly, "Yeah, my definition of fun just doesn't involve wasting time." The group laughed. She blushed. And for the first time, she looked at him with respect. Not because he won the joke, but because he showed he couldn't be shaken. Why calmness is so attractive. Here's why this boundary is so powerful. Calmness signals mastery. If you're calm, it means you trust yourself. If you're calm, it means you don't need to control everything. If you're calm, it means you can handle pressure. And women feel this on a primal level. It tells them, this man is unshakable. This man is a rock. In a world full of men chasing, defending, and overreacting, calm is magnetic. Calm is different. Calm is power. How to build emotional strength. So, how do you actually pass these tests consistently? 1. Pause before reacting. A single breath can shift you from reactive to composed. 2. Detach your ego. Not every comment is a personal attack. Don't take the bait. 3. Respond. Don't react. Keep it short. Confident. may be playful but never defensive. 4. Reframe the moment. Instead of seeing her test as a threat, see it as a stage to show your strength. 5. Practice in life. It's not just with women. Learn to stay calm when your coworker criticizes you, when traffic cuts you off, when life gets chaotic. That training makes you immovable everywhere. The Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The calm test is exactly that. You don't control what she says. You control how you respond, and in that control lies your power, your masculinity, and ultimately your attraction. So remember this: women will test you, not to hurt you, but to feel you. They want to see if you're strong enough to stand your ground without anger, without defense, without losing yourself. Most men fail because they react. But the Stoic man, he breathes. He smiles. He flips the frame. And in that moment, something shifts inside her. She stops testing to break you and starts testing to admire you. Because when you pass the calm test, you don't just earn her respect, you earn her trust. And once you have her trust, attraction follows naturally. There's a mistake most men don't even realize they're making. It's not being too nice. It's not being too boring. It's talking too much. They over-explain. They justify. They reveal every detail of their life too soon. And without knowing it, they kill the very thing that fuels attraction, mystery. Why over-explaining destroys authority? Let's start here. Every time you over-explain, what you're really saying is, "Please, accept me. Please understand me. Please approve of me." For example, you say, "I can't make it tonight. I had a long week. Work has been stressful. I'm exhausted. But maybe if I rest, I'll feel better, and then I'll see if I can come out later." It sounds polite. It sounds considerate. But the energy behind it, weak, seeking permission. Now compare that to "I can't make it tonight. Let's connect later this week." Short, direct, clear. One sentence communicated more authority than 5 paragraphs of justification, because the more you explain, the more it feels like you're trying to convince. And attraction never comes from convincing, it comes from conviction. Say less. Mean more. Here's a truth that separates boys from men. Your silence is often louder than your words. A man who says less forces people to lean in. A man who says less creates space for curiosity. A man who says less communicates, "I am certain. I don't need to prove myself." Think of the leaders you admire. The Stoics, the warriors, the philosophers. Did they ramble? Did they defend every choice? Or did they speak clearly, calmly, and with weight? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Authority doesn't argue. Authority acts. Mystery is magnetic. Let's be honest, in today's world, everyone overshares. Social media, endless texting, constant availability. Within 3 days of meeting someone, most men have already spilled their entire life story. But mystery is rare, and rarity creates value. When you don't reveal everything at once, you give her the gift of curiosity. And curiosity is the seed of attraction. It makes her lean in. It makes her wonder about you. It makes her think of you when you're not around. Because here's the paradox: the less you reveal, the more she imagines. And her imagination will always make you bigger than words ever could. Practical ways to create mystery now. Let's get practical. How do you embody silence, authority, and mystery without coming off as cold or arrogant? 1. Stop over-explaining. Replace long justifications with short, clear statements. Example, instead of "sorry, I'm just really busy. Maybe I can squeeze it in if I say I won't make it." Let's reschedule. 2. Be okay with silence. Don't rush to fill every pause in conversation. Let her feel the space. Let her lean in. 3. Share in layers. Don't unload your entire past. Your childhood trauma. Your financial situation. On date 1, reveal yourself gradually. Give her something to discover. 4. Use presence, not words. Your eye contact, your body language, your calmness, these speak louder than words. Let your energy do the talking. 5. Detach from approval. Don't explain just to soften the impact of your choices. If it's your decision, own it. Period. A story to illustrate: consider Michael. Michael was used to justifying himself. Every time his girlfriend asked about his choices, had explained endlessly. When she asked why he couldn't hang out one evening, he'd write long texts. "I'm sorry. I'm just tired. Work has been crazy. And I don't want you to think I don't care." The more he explained, the less she respected him. She started pulling away. One day, Michael changed his approach. She asked if he could skip his workout to see her. He looked her in the eye and said calmly, "I'll see you after the gym." No excuses, nor apologies, just truth. Her reaction: she smiled. For the first time, she leaned into his frame instead of pulling him out of it. Because in that moment, she didn't just hear his words, she felt his authority, the Stoic edge. The Stoics understood this deeply. Power isn't in explaining, it's in living. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." The man who embodies his standard doesn't need to argue. He doesn't need to justify. He doesn't need to overshare. His life speaks louder than his mouth. That's why silence is so powerful. Silence is proof of self-control. Silence is proof of confidence. Silence is proof that you are not desperate to be understood. The balanced silent, not cold now. Let me be clear. Silence doesn't mean ignoring her. It doesn't mean being distant or robotic. It means speaking with weight. It means letting curiosity do its work. Women don't want a man who never talks. They want a man who speaks when he has something to say, not when he needs to fill space. They want a man who holds back just enough that every word feels intentional. This balance, silence, mixed with presence, is magnetic. So here's the lesson. Don't over-explain. Don't justify. Don't overshare. Speak less. Mean more. Let your decisions stand without needing validation. Protect some of your story. And most importantly, let silence work for you. Because when a man embraces silence, authority, and mystery, he stops chasing approval and starts commanding respect. And in that space, attraction doesn't just grow, it multiplies. There's a silent tragedy that destroys countless men. They meet a woman. They feel the spark. And slowly, without even realizing it, they begin to revolve their entire world around her. Their goals put on hold. Their schedule rearranged. Their standards negotiated away. At first, she enjoys the attention. But soon, something shifts. She feels it before she can even explain it. He's no longer a man on his mission, he's a man orbiting her. And here's the brutal truth when your purpose becomes her. Attraction Ds. Why purpose comes first. High-value women are not attracted to men who live for them. They're attracted to men who live for something bigger. A woman doesn't want to be your mission. She wants to join your mission. She doesn't want to be your entire world. She wants to be part of a world that's already moving. Think about it. A man who wakes up with a plan, who protects his focus, who builds something bigger than himself, he becomes gravity. A man who drops everything at her call becomes fragile. And which one does she respect more? Which one does she crave? Always the man with direction. The masculine principle. Masculinity is not about control. It's not about domination. It's about direction. A ship without a captain is tossed by every wave. A man without a mission is tossed by every mood, every distraction, every woman. But a man with a mission, he becomes the captain of his life. His ship moves with purpose. And anyone who joins him feels safer, stronger, more alive. That's the masculine principle. Mission before woman. Why men lose themselves? So why do so many men put women before mission? Because validation feels good. Because attention feels like love. Because society has told them that making a woman happy is their highest calling. But here's the paradox. The more you make her your mission, the more she loses respect. She doesn't want a man who exists to keep her entertained. She wants a man who exists to build something bigger and who invites her to walk beside him. The Stoic perspective, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." Notice he didn't say, "A man's worth is measured by how much a woman loves him." He said it's measured by his ambitions, his goals, his mission. A Stoic man doesn't abandon his path for comfort. He doesn't bend his purpose to please others. He knows his duty, and he lives it calmly, steadily, relentlessly. And that presence, that clarity of direction is exactly what makes him magnetic. Practical ways to live mission first. How do you embody this boundary in daily life? 1. Protect your schedule. Don't cancel your workout, your work, or your growth just because she calls. If it matters to you, it stays. 2. Define your vision. Know what you're building, whether it's your career, your fitness, your craft. Be clear on your direction. 3. Communicate with strength. Let her know you care, but never compromise your path. Example, "I'll see you after I finish this project." 4. Build first. Date second. If your foundation is weak, No relationship will save you. Strength attracts, weakness repels. 5. Stay consistent. Mission first isn't about ignoring her. It's about never losing yourself. Consistency is what builds both respect and attraction. A real-world example. Take David. David was ambitious, building his own business. Then he met Anna. At first, he balanced both his work and his relationship, but soon, he started skipping meetings to see her. He slowed down on his goals. His focus shifted. Unnoticed, she didn't feel more loved. She felt more pressure.